but I built software in 5 months. Like that's unheard of before AI.
And you know the model works so well. It's just like why those platforms become worth tens of millions, 100 millions, and sometimes billions.
If you've got a dialed in Instagram strategy where you're
Mm.
posting on Reels and you're posting stories and you've got posts and stuff, like this isn't going to work.
It's like one of the best businesses you can start. Kathleen, welcome to the podcast. You're a member of the school community. Today we are talking about AI SaaS. What a cool conversation, right? We've got a lot of cool ground to cover about what's trending right now, why you should start an AI SaaS right now, your experience in building it off an automation, and like a billion other things. Do you want to kick off by sharing to the audience a little bit about yourself, your background, this beautiful physical background you've got? It looks like you're in an actual podcast studio right now. Am I right?
Yeah, yeah. This came from 2020 where so my office is lovely. It's like I've got a big window here. I've got French doors here, and I'm in the middle of my house. And
Okay.
I have small children. And in 2020, I was like, there's no way. Like it sounds like I'm coming from a bathroom. All people can hear is what sounds like child torture in the other room, where they're just like giggling and screaming. And so
Yeah.
I had to build. I have these like what are they? They're just like foam things that you glue to the wall. It's a very fun project.
Yeah, soundproofing, right?
Well, if you look up soundproofing, then it's like crazy, right? You're supposed to put pillows on your ceiling and make yourself like a safe room type of thing. But if you look up like sound absorbing, then it's much easier, like much more
I
straightforward.
love that. Yeah, that's perfect. So you've got your podcast studio, so all the magic sort of happens. Do you want to share with the audience like a bit about your background then, Kathleen? How did you get into AI, and then what led you to starting off like a SaaS? Like what did that journey look like?
Yeah. So I have been online. I've been working online since 2010. So in internet years, that's forever.
Yeah.
We were doing content. I was in my last corporate job was like a 100% remote job, which in 2013 was like unheard of, right? Like th- nobody was 100% remote. Now it's like, yeah, everybody is, or some hybrid thereof, right? But it was a corporate job. I was a blog manager for an inbound marketing company, which was like, holy cow, I can do what I do for fun for a living because I got into online through blogging. Fast forward to 2023, the beginning of 2023, I was doing high ticket coaching. I love high ticket coaching. Like I really do, because you can pay, some amount of thousands of dollars for access to somebody who can help you build something and get you up to a higher level. And I have a digital marketing background. I know how to build sales funnels. I know how to get people's ideas, expertise out there and packaged up nicely. And so it was really, really fun. And I had about 4 people in that group. And then my dad died. And
Mm.
I didn't feel like doing anything. He died in early January of 2023. And I thought, oh my gosh. So I said, okay, well, this is not a 90-day program. We're going to do this for a year. I'm just out for a little while. And so, and when you coach humans. And so everybody understands. It's something that we all, if we're lucky enough to have parents, we all go through it. So, so after, closing down the estate and spending a bunch of time out of state and like doing a lot of personal stuff,
Yeah.
I came back in the middle of 2023 and I thought, what do I want to do? And I realized it wasn't coaching. I love the transformation of coaching, but what I like more is the idea that I can build something that I can step away from, that I don't have to be on for, that I can't software will run in the background if I have to leave early for a kid event or something family related needs me in real life comes before the internet. And so right around that time, ChatGPT 3.5 came to the public attention, and I thought, I've always been like a shiny object digital marketer. So like I've tested all of the sales funnel platforms. I know all the email platforms. And this was just like yet another piece of, well, it turned out to be hundreds of pieces of shiny objects that I could play with. And so my initial thought was social media, because social media is the kind of thing that's super important and takes a lot of time or money if you're not good at it. So I thought, okay, well, this is a really good like sticky thing. that I can work on. I wouldn't call myself a social media expert, but I do have that same pain point. So I started with an automation that was trying to build carousel posts. And I think I have it in the community. And that was like, okay, this is fun. I built a front end. I did, like an intake thing. It was like $2 a thing. But it took so much work. And I found my initial gap was the tech. So still today, arrays and iterators and that kind of piece of it makes me like throw money at anybody else. And so I was in like a YouTube rabbit hole, and I don't learn best through video. And so it was frustrating to get to these videos that were 35 minutes and they didn't have the answer.
Yeah.
And then I found you, and you had the same length of videos, but you had this option where if I just wanted the answer, I could join your community. And I was like, okay. And I think like that was April of last year. And that initially, because your community grew so fast, that makes me one of like the OGs in that community.
Yes, that's right.
And then I found that like, not only was there answers, there were other humans that knew how to get there faster. And so I thought, okay, this is how I'm going to get this one built. And then one thing after another, you had a tone of voice, and I'm sure we can link to these, but there's a tone of voice creator that's really, really great that says like, here, upload a writing sample and we'll split this up. And so that's one step in how to make AI sound like you. And then you had a social media, here's how to post on all of them. And I thought, okay. So I did that. I was psyched. I think I remember I like posted I was like, this worked the exact same way it should the first time, but it's hard. Like, I realized, and so when I showed somebody else what I was doing, I realized like I can't do what you can do for yourself or what you can do for like one other person at scale. So what I mean by that is in that automation, you have to build apps, developer apps in the different social media platforms. And even though it's just like following the instructions, copy, paste, use this link, use that, it's not hard. It's a bridge too far for a lot of people. And so I thought, well, this is, I think, what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn this into software. So that was a very long answer to your question.
That is a beautiful, beautiful explanation. It's interesting because you kind of touched on so many things. That the first thing you touched on was why SaaS. And SaaS is this brilliant idea of whether you rock up or not at 9 o'clock on Monday morning, your SaaS still exists. And when you were talking about that, reminded me of the business at my last technology startup. And what I really loved about tech startups is the fact that we used to call it the yacht test, which is, how do you know that your business is truly independent of you? The question is, can you go on a yacht for 3 months without your phone, and will you come back to a business that still physically works? And that's kind of always the aspiration you want to get to, right? When you build like a SaaS product, get to the point where, whether Kathleen rocks up on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, you still have a software and customers that people are using. And like, I feel like that magic, that kind of North Star, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I started in the first place, because software is like this infinitely scalable, exciting thing. And the other thing, you talked about with the carousel thing, because I remember that actually, is that like, I feel what people don't really understand about software a lot is like, is Gymshark quite big where you live, Kathleen? Gymshark.
Yeah. It's not as big here as it is there.
Okay,
yeah.
So it is. Most gyms in the UK have Gymshark, right? What people don't understand about Ben Francis, the founder, is that it was like his first 7 businesses failed spectacularly. And I almost feel like your first SaaS, its job isn't to become the next Apple. Like mostly your first SaaS is about you and your skill set. I'm interested to know like your kind of takeaways from your first one, a bit more about like what you're focusing on now. But like if your very first SaaS wins, obviously amazing, but it's not its job. Its job isn't to take over the world. Its job is that you can start to build up and understand how you build SaaSes. And like, we'll get into it soon, but there's no better time than right now to actually start an AI SaaS. So do you want to share about like how you're currently building it, and like, I guess like how you're leveraging AI with it? Well, I think it'd be really interesting to get started on.
Yeah. So it has, I think, 9 different scenarios, and if we want to nerd out and share those screens, we can. But basically, it's like it takes the whole idea is that it takes it builds a custom news feed for me. That's the least automated piece. But it builds a custom news feed. You get 4 articles a day on news in your industry about like written in your tone of voice. And then you can decide which ones you're going to run with. And so from the user's perspective, they get an email with their magic link, they log in, they see 4 posts, or if they don't log in every day, they see some multiple of 4 posts. Because it's timely, they will never get overwhelmed. Like if it's been more than 7 days since they logged in, they don't have last week's content to deal with. They just have the new stuff.
Wow, okay.
That was really important to me because I want to make sure that it's not work, that it's something that actually like they can do in the background. From a back-end tech perspective, the hardest part was going that extra step and adding the ability to auto post to a schedule in for their social media.
Wow, okay.
And there's a piece of software that does it, but it's API based and written in computer programmer speak, and that took me months to get. But I thought that it wasn't good without that. It wasn't a complete product until they could just actually say like, okay, yeah, Mondays and Wednesdays at 10 o'clock in the morning, I want to post on LinkedIn, and then have that go.
That's flipping awesome. What I think I love that you've done, you've kind of like throttled the demand so it's not overwhelming. There's this kind of like psychological thing. Was this part of your thought process about if somebody has 50 articles to choose from, it's so overwhelming? What was your like thought process in like keeping it full? Did you think of the overwhelm, and did you want to lean it to be quite simple? Because I feel in a world where you can do anything, it's almost like, how do you help people? You're almost kind of telling them what they need to do in a way, right? Like there's literally 3 things you can do. Do one of these 3 things, and that's it.
Yeah, and it did occur to me. So when I had it before I had it with the buffer piece to it, what I thought I had was something for social media managers, where I believe that there's 3 different types of content. One is topical authority. One is updates about like internal updates about what you guys are doing, and then one is conversion oriented content. Click here, download this, buy this, that kind of like, so those 3 different pillars. And the hardest one to get right and the easiest one to use AI with is the topical authority, because as a social media manager, you don't, like, when you get hired by a professional services company, you don't have to be an expert in like bug remediation. You just have to find the expertise. And so that was where I thought it would be really helpful. And the other piece was like, what I had done was I turned it into a different problem to solve. There was a quote in 4,000 Weeks by Oliver Burkeman, which is a great book, but it was about how the advent of the microwave didn't make us more excited to have a burrito in 3 minutes. It made us there was some statistic, some psychological study that like 90% of people pull out stop their microwave before the time goes off because they're too impatient.
Okay, yeah.
So what I did was I thought I solved a problem, but then my beta testers told me I created a new problem, because now you don't have to do any of the research. You don't have to spend the hours and hours doing that research and finding the topical stuff. Now you have to do copy and pasting, and that was annoying enough for people to not buy it. So I was like, okay, well now we've got to do this next piece.
That's interesting, and it's funny because your software, I mean, like, I would use it for ideas on YouTube, to be honest with you. Like, there's so many, and I think that's also the thing with SaaS is like, there's no shortage of problems to solve, right? There's always a customer somewhere that would buy the thing that you want. But I think that idea is really flipping epic, because
Thank you.
Actually, it's like coming up with the ideas, the tone of voice I think is genius, because anyone get AI generate slop, right? But does it sound like you? Is it right? Is it for chain purpose? I think that's freaking awesome. So on the AI SaaS then stuff, like, do you think first of all, have you done like many tech business before? Because I think one of the things now is like, I love the fact that you're creating this, because I think the advent no code explosion of AI is kind of giving classically programmers tools to create stuff. Like I always say with my last startup, I gave a developer equity, sweat equity, a certain percentage that vested over a couple of years. I actually think for most startups now, you don't really need to do that. You don't need a technical co-founder. And it was always this kind of idea that if you're getting investment, for example, they'd say, great, who's a technical co-founder? If you're not building code, you're not winning. I think it's so exciting now that you can have a really cool idea like you've got, push buttons, learn stuff, and then start creating incredible applications and stuff. So have you found like, do you think the no code stuff has been like influential in like your journey in creating this?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I felt out of place at first in your community because I'm a marketer. I'm not a programmer. I am a marketer through and through. I have 3/4 of a computer science degree, but I couldn't hack it in college. And so I like left it and got a different degree. So, like, I'm like I felt like a fish out of water. I don't know any of this stuff. But it's between the no code tools themselves and then using one or two or five LLMs to help you when you get stuck. Like, here's all the documentation for this. That's what I did for the software. Like the AirShare software is really, really complicated. I was like, here's all the documentation. Here it is in JavaScript. Turn that into Make for me. And I had outsourced a piece of it. I hired somebody else in the community to help me build a piece of it. And then when I got it back, it wasn't what I wanted. And so what it taught me was not to never outsource, but that even learning enough to be dangerous is better because you know what something should look like. You know how straightforward something should be. Because now I guarantee you when I when I grow this business, I will not be touching the no code side of things eventually. But it's better that I know where, well, for lack of a better turn of phrase, for where all the bodies are buried, where how things work together in between my different scenarios, which ones start off the next one, how they get triggered and stuff like that. It's better for me to have all that knowledge than to have that exist in another person, because programmers are great and no code programmers are great, but they're not documentation people. So you don't have you lose the knowledge when you give all the tech stuff to a co-founder. Not only do you lose the equity, but you lose that, like, no, I wanted it to do this type of
You're
answer.
so that's so profound because there's also like you now need to articulate very specifically the thing that you want, and then God forbid they leave or something, and then like, okay, well, how the hell does all this stuff connect together in the first place? So it's like I think that's actually a genius thing that you almost like. I actually had this with SEO. Like I got our website from like to 50K unique visitors, and I was like, look, this is great, but I don't want to spend my days doing SEO. So I need to like hire an agency to do that. But I said, look, I can get you from 0 to 80% like that. But if you want to give an X 20%, you need to hire an expert. And I said, like, I have no desire to become an expert in this area. So then, but when I was having conversations, you're able just to ask better questions. Like, and because you've had the experience doing it, and like, that's the thing I feel about entrepreneurship is you almost become like, I don't want to say generalist, but I feel you need to get to like 80% skill level in fricking as many things as literally humanly possible. Because you need to be able to understand what the hell's going on. So if you do need to outsource it, you can do that confidently.
Yeah, I agree. And I think like whatever skills you come to AI with are super valuable, because
Yeah.
now I've spent like 5 months outside my comfort zone, and now I'm like, ooh, I get to do marketing again, and I can launch this software, and I
So
can like, it works. Like, all of that stuff is much more straightforward now for me, um, today than it was, let's say, in September. And that feels like a long time, but I built software in 5 months. Like, that's unheard of before
it's
AI.
crazy. It's actually crazy. So I know you're a bit like a marketing genius, but like, do you want to share like with the audience some like how are you thinking about your business from the marketing lens? Because we always talk about your 1% skill sets. Everyone's got these unique skills and abilities and knowledge that you bring to the table that makes your business unique. That not everyone else, someone would have to hire someone to replicate that for you. So how are you? Do you want to share some how you're thinking about your business from like a marketing perspective and like the some of the skills you picked up there? That'd
Yeah.
be really
So
helpful.
my initial marketing push is going to be a heavy affiliate strategy
Okay.
where I have I have a whole bunch of friends who have big audiences that could help me get in front of them. I'm basically following Nathan Barry's playbook, even though it's 10 years old. When he was launching ConvertKit, which is now Kit, he went and decided this was going to be email for bloggers. And I don't think I want to reach out to bloggers because that's a weird industry right now with everything changing. But I'm reaching out to my network, and I want to show people how easy it is. Because I think that Glow Social, the software, isn't right for everybody. So if people have like a really strong Instagram strategy already and they've got like stuff going on and they're spending an hour and a half per post, like this isn't going to help. But the people that are the industries that need to be on social media that would benefit from being the go-to person in their industry for that topic, or like a financial advisor or professional services who would be that, those are the people that'll really benefit from this type of software. But also, so will anybody who needs to be more on social media than they are. So long story short, I've got a quiz almost ready. I have a bunch of resources that I'm building for affiliates so that they can help me, because my skill set is in creating marketing materials. Because I've switched and pivoted, I have a much smaller list than I once did. And I'm not sure even that old list would have been right, because it's a different vertical, a different solution.
So is your strategy with affiliates then, so like Glow Social, how have you set up the monetization? Is that like a recurring subscription? And do you
Yeah.
give affiliates like a one-time payment, or are you giving them like a recurring revenue model, and why?
Right. So for my first set, maybe it'll change down the line, but it'll never change for the beginning people. But
Yeah.
it's my intent is to give my affiliates 30% of the customer's lifetime subscription. So every month when they're paying me, I'm paying out. The pricing is $99 a month, and there's discounts for annual payment and stuff like that. But the idea is like the more you can get it in front of people, the more money you can make on a solution that you believe in, right? Like, so it's not unethical, but I've done a play before when I was doing a higher ticket coaching model where I was heavy into ads. So I thought,
Right.
well, if I'm going to spend that money, I might as well spend it with people and not billion-dollar corporations.
Yeah, and you know, it's so good that you're right, affiliates, because it's such a freaking crazy growth channel if you can nail it right. Like schools and platforms are a good example. Like they give you
Mm-hmm.
40%, I think, of like somebody's like group cost, or who else? What's the other one? Like Go High Levels, the one that has an insane
Mm-hmm.
affiliate
Go high
thing.
level, ClickFunnels,
But it's
like
like
all of those.
it's easy
Yeah.
sales, yeah. And it's like that's the beauty, isn't it? Like I wonder if you find I always find like this question about, are they a competitor or are they the perfect partner? Sometimes like it's a gray area, but like having a business, like a string of businesses that you can work with, say, hey, you and I have the exact same customer, but we have completely different products. So like you can affiliate this, and this is an additional, I always said, hassle-free income stream for you. And like you just have to promote it, and then people will come through, and it's actually, it's unbelievable. I wouldn't say it's unbelievably easy, but like it would blow your mind if you get a partner that has like 1K, 2K, 3K new customers a month, and you say, hey, this is like a complete hassle-free income stream for you and adds a lot of value, and we can do something blah, 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 blah. Like it is so freaking insane the amount of customers you can get through an affiliate model.
Yeah, yeah. And so that's like the advice that I have gotten was like lean into affiliates until they stop working. And so, the math on, I believe that the math on SaaS works out better long term, especially for like legacy and
Yeah.
having something to pass on. But also, like, I did a masterclass in your community a couple months ago because people end up with these skills, and the easiest, best way to make money immediately is through like done for you. Like,
Yeah.
hey, uh, have me be your AI consultant. I'll unbottleneck your business with AI tools. That's really super lucrative upfront. But my goal, my plan, my belief, my faith is that this is also a good way to monetize, just not like quickly.
I actually think that you've touched on something beautiful there because like if you want to make money quote unquote quickly, you're right. You wanted to exchange to some extent time for money for services or whatever. But the beautiful thing about a SaaS is most SaaSes, aren't they? They're unprofitable for a long period of time until you hit this critical mass of like usership because you have to kind of build out the ecosystem and the product. Obviously, you can do your minimal viable products like your kind of small use case testing, but essentially, you know, all the success, all the wins happen at this beautiful inflection point of like scale. Once you've built the software out, it continues to get better. You've got your core first 100 enthusiastic users. And it's like, that's why I think people in business that adopt those 10-year mindsets, which says, look, this doesn't even need to make me any money for 10 years because I want this to be here. I want this to be the best thing ever for like decades in the future. And and then they'll ask you how you became an overnight success, Kathleen. Well, I started it 5 years ago and now I've got X thousand, 100,000 million users. And that's a really exciting thing about it. And I think it becomes, I don't want to say it's like less pressure, but obviously you're always trying to put profit first, but it's just really exciting when you have a base of users and it is turning over income and you know the model works so well. It's just like why those platforms become worth tens of millions, 100 millions, and sometimes billions because you're building a platform for something. And also, guys, I'd say like very easy to sell, very, very, very easy to sell a profitable SaaS, and the margins are flipping crazy on it as well. It's like one of the best businesses you can start.
Yeah, it's and like honestly, if I can do it, you can do it. Like I made all of the tech mistakes, but it's working now. So, and I don't think it would have been. I don't think I would have like appreciated it had like you. If you want to outsource, even with AirShare, the API that goes to the social media, they have a thing where like, oh, you can hire one of the people in our community, and there's a drop down for how much your budget is, and the lowest thing for that is $50K. So
Wow.
like, it's
Okay.
better to learn this stuff. I mean, unless you've got multiples of 50K just laying around needing somewhere to go, but it's better because their API is actually really easy, as long as you can get your brain around programmer jargon.
So okay, so say we've got people watching this now and they're thinking, this AI fast thing sounds interesting. Kathleen, where do I start? What idea should I go for, and how would I go about launching this? What advice would you give to that person?
I think counter to like a lot of advice you see, I don't think you have to find something you're passionate about, like at all.
Yeah.
I really, really don't. I actually think you need to find a problem that you have that like is painful enough that you would pay money to solve. Because at the beginning, like you can, like to your point that you said earlier, Jack, you can find problems anywhere. But like problems that car detailers have is so far removed from my life experience that I'm not going to be able to build the right solution for it. So I think with anything with AI, the first place to look are your bottlenecks. And where are you personally experiencing bottlenecks? What are you like, there's like a meme that goes around every couple of months on social media that's like that thing that I put off for 4 months that took me 11 minutes.
Yeah.
I will learn nothing from this. What are those things for you? The other thing you can do is go into Jack's community and see which of the cajillion, sorry, I don't know the real number, but of the modules of the tutorials are most interesting to you. If you can't make it all the way through a tutorial, that's not the one you should build.
Because you're more passionate about that, right?
Well, you have to want to solve like it. I think it's more of, instead of passionate about the something, it's more about, is this is this complicated puzzle interesting enough for you to want to solve it?
That's a good point because I think if it's not like the most interesting it's ever going to be is today.
Yeah.
Okay, and if you can't finish a 30-minute conversation about it, chances are you're gonna like move and pivot in 10 years. But I think a lot of people could build the SaaS they want, but they just change their mind too much. And like, well, actually, now I'm going to do this, and then I want to do something else. It's like any one of these SaaS models can work, but not every single one of them can work at the same time. If you're building 15 different SaaSes, it's hard enough building one AI SaaS, let alone 15. So like you kind of want to nail down and not do like a billion different things at the same time. So I think that's an interesting thing about, is it a interesting problem? I think, what do you think about like when you think about AI SaaS, right? And this landscape map. I always come back to like the Lion King philosophy. Okay, don't go over that. These are the kind of death zones. And for me, some of the zones of death that I would never even, I'd say that the ground isn't worth, juice is not worth the squeeze, is if your SaaS could be replaced by an elephant. And by an elephant, I mean like OpenAI's model getting better. Like if your model is dependent on AI being at a certain limited competency, basically, obviously you want like the advent of ChatGPT, these different models, to be an accelerant to your business rather than a threat to your business. So with Glow Social, for instance, the better these models get, the better your product gets, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're not building on top of like shaky sand. And it's like, I think that's like why sometimes we see these AI startups that appear and then they disappear again very quickly because someone's just rolled that functionality into their core product.
Yeah, I've seen that too. The to I was thinking because it's the beginning of the year and the gym is full. I was thinking about what you had said about shiny objects in
Yes.
terms of exercise. So I'm working, I'm lifting weights at the gym 3 times a week. It's a really regimented program. I have an app for it. There's a whole bunch of stuff on it. It's like, I was thinking about it because you increase your weight a little bit every time, and that's how you know you're getting stronger. I would say I've not lost any weight. I don't look stronger, but I can lift heavier weights at the gym. And I was thinking like the gym is a really good example of everything works. Every single thing works. If you do the elliptical every day for a year, you will get better. If you do weights 3 times a week for a year, you will get stronger. If you go to classes, if you go swimming, if you go play tennis, but you can't do all of those things. You have one body, right? Like, so just because you're not like my thought with strength training is like, I haven't seen results. I don't look super cut, whatever. But if I keep this up for, to your point earlier, 10 years, I'm going to be so much stronger when I'm 53 than I am today when I'm 43. And that's my whole goal, you know? And so, like, if you think about like simplifying everything down to the same thing you do at like for anything, if you just follow one path, and there's no right path either, like you just pick one and go with it. And I really think like you have to get past the only reason the other things look shiny is because you're not in the middle of them anymore,
Mm.
you know, like, so it like yes, I will eventually be able to bench press more, you know, and like
It's that beautiful. You said that very well. There, it's like small incremental changes over time, and it's like if the only reason you do something is because it's interesting to you at the time or it's new, like you've just got like I just think anyone who's ever achieved anything great in business has been able to do it when they kind of don't feel like it. Like they wake up, they're busy, they're sorting the kids out. It's like the last thing I want to do is sit down and solve this problem. But that's also the reason why you can crush it if you can be consistent and stick with this stuff, because most people will quit early. Like starting a business is like it's one of the hardest things you'll do, but it's also one of the most rewarding, fun, like freaking incredible things, and also super freaking exciting. And like it's good to go out and experiment. Oh, that didn't work. Cool. Well, then let's just figure it out and try something different instead. Even I get pulled in by the allure of the SaaS. Like sometimes I think about it. I'm like, I really want to do one. I'm not doing one because I'm really focused on everything we're doing here with the channel and the community. That's why I try to keep my focus on that. But it's so freaking lucrative and it's such an exciting area to get into. And it's really cool, Kathleen, to your experience to talk about this because I feel a lot of the conversations dominated by AI agencies, and they're
mm-hmm,
cool, but
mm-hmm.
I don't think we're not giving enough love to the AI SaaS, which, to be honest, guys, is like it is more proven if we're going to be honest about it, because I can point to several billion-dollar SaaS companies. I can't point to any billion-dollar AI agency companies. Not that
Right.
that's not going to be lucrative, but like no one's really cracked yet. Like a really exciting, this is just such a beautiful embryonic industry with so much opportunity. I think it's flipping crazy. I mean, never have we seen what used to be the strongest asset, a technical co-founder, become essentially irrelevant to some extent. Like, I mean, like, what do they say? Like in Facebook now, their AI is at the competency of a mid-level engineer, and like fan companies pay like I don't know what the average salary is for that stuff. But if you're weaponizing no code and AI, you can do things that were just completely unimaginable. Now it's just finding those entrepreneurs like yourself who are taking those like skill sets, those building blocks, and applying it to a really cool problem like Glow Social. I think it's freaking awesome. I mean, if we were to pivot back a second then and think about your avatar from like a marketing perspective, how did you decide like your customer? Like if people think, okay, cool, I've got an idea, I'm interested in it, who do I sell this to?
Yeah, so that's like the $1 billion question right now. And the answer is so silly, but I was journaling about it. And like I said before, if you've got a dialed in Instagram strategy where you're posting on Reels and you're posting stories and you've got posts and stuff, like this isn't going to work. This is just not going to work. So I was thinking like, okay, where are the industries that are paying for bad content? Who are those people paying for bad content? And who have I worked with in the past? And for me, that has been financial advisors. I've probably worked with about 15 or 20 financial advisors on their marketing in some various aspects in the past. And they're the one. There's social content agencies that go after those, like that have just like stock content that's like the market is the market and you need to hire me type of like bad content. But those
Yeah.
are the type of people, they've got the budget. They to grow a financial services firm, to be in aggressive growth is like 10 or 15 new clients a year. So if they can spend $100 a month to become the go-to person in their
Wow.
industry, if they're posting about things that are in the news around the economy, they're going to get known for being more than just like a person you can buy insurance from, but someone that you can trust because they've got a cool take on what's going on today. And so right now, and by right now I mean this year, I'm focusing on those types of professions, the ones that would really benefit from having a solid and hands-off content strategy.
Interesting.
Aside from the people in my affiliate world.
And your affiliate was, but I think that's true because people are at different stages. Like, and it's like that. There's different levels of maturity. Like, there are some people that know Instagram up, down, left, right, and sideways, and there's some people who know they should post. They don't really have the time to think about what or how, or maybe they don't want to spend $2,000 on a boutique social media agency, but they want to get started to a certain really decent quality threshold. Oh, and by the way, the product's consistently getting better all the time. Oh, and by the way, it sounds like you. Oh, and by the way, it's like that's a really beautiful thing. Like most people, I find the mistake they make is it's not a problem that people want to pay to solve, or they don't know who they're talking to. And it's like it's said a lot, but it's said a lot for a reason. It's like if you're marketing to everybody, you're marketing to nobody. And I think the reason why people fall into that trap so much is because all they see is opportunity. They just see all the people that I could sell it to. But like, you really like, it would serve you so well to go really niche and say, look, I'm just selling. I just work with financial advisors of this size at this level. And like, if you're that guy hearing that message, you're like, freaking hell, that's like me, right? That like, there's no one else that is apart from me, and you're way more likely to get the sale than if you say, hey, we help people do random things. So like, being
Businesses
specific is
beyond
beautiful.
line. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, being specific is beautiful, and it's like most people don't back their way into the market thinking about how big could it be. I mean, like, did you? I guess your target customer and stuff, like how would you see them using your product? Is it a case of like they sign up, and is it which platforms are you on at the moment, and what's your kind of development like roadmap? Like, are you kind of making the existing one even better, or are you adding in different like platforms? How are you thinking about how you want to scale the kind of tech side of your business up?
Yeah, that's a very fun question.
Yeah.
Like, so I live in two worlds where I want to sell what I have, and then I also want to make it better. So I have, it's like which wolf do you feed? Like that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to feed the one that says like it's okay. Let's get the marketing materials out and get this in front of more people, and then we can start adding stuff. So right now we're on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Google Business Profile. So if you're not doing anything on Google Business, that's a really good way to boost your local SEO. So that's another play where it's like, well, that's worth it. Just right there where it's updates on Google that helps, especially if you do local services. It helps you rank when people are Googling stuff. So, or at least for now, before AI takes over Google too. But you know, we're going to be on Threads soon. We're going to be on Blue Sky soon. There's some more exciting things about, like right now I do a video script. I give you a video script and I give you a image and I give you all the text you need. But what would be really cool is to do headless video content down the line. So like all the like really fun shiny object things that I want to add to it, I think will be really cool. Like once they're right, but also as it stands now, it like what I like about it is that you come in, you upload a writing sample, and you set your times and you set your platforms, and then either every morning for 2 minutes or every week for 5 minutes, you're scheduling out your content as it comes in. This one, not this one. This one, not like, because depending on your RSS feed, you might have some duplicates, or depending on how the topic got covered in different news outlets and whatever. So then you're able to schedule content basically for the week in 5 minutes or for the month in 10 minutes, depending on how often, you know, like we let you post up to 4 times a day. I don't think you should through my platform, but you can.
Wow. Yeah.
So yeah, there's lots of stuff in the roadmap. I also want to be flexible because I've just got a handful of beta testers and a very small number of paid subscribers. So I want to be flexible to those people to like, what do you want next? Do you care about hashtags? I've got hashtags in there. I don't know if people care about them. Social media oriented people do, but I'm not sure they do much. So, you know, I've got it there, but do you need it? You know, do you want to do more video? Do you want to like, cause we can connect to YouTube and TikTok. Well, as of today, we can connect to TikTok. But like, what do my users want? And that's like what I'm trying to be more open to what they actually want. And when there's more of them and there's 3 people want the same thing, then that's probably what goes higher on the product roadmap.
I think that's a beautiful way to do it. Like, what are the customers using and what do they want? Because I think like what I say, one of the biggest sins is thinking that you're your own customer, and you may be your own customer, but sometimes it's not a perfect one-to-one match. And like, you can learn a lot, can't you, by like how people use the technologies and stuff. Like, I remember when my other businesses, like I had this idea, oh, this would be really cool, this would be really cool, but no one really asked the question, that's cool, but what is that in service of? Like, is this actually just really confusing? Because I found that like I have this whiteboard behind me and I write down ideas and I can go like crazy with ideas, and like sometimes it's not come into contact with the customer and it's already gone so far much development, and has never actually been in front of a human being with a wallet who can buy it. And like, I'm always really conscious about not letting that get too wild and fantastical until it's made contact with an actual customer who's buying it. The other kind of paradoxical side of this is that people don't actually know what they want.
Right.
And
Right.
Henry Ford's classic quote of, if you ask someone what they want, they'll just tell you they want a faster horse.
Faster horses. Yep. You want to make sure you're not there either. But I think like if you can do them what else you could do, then it's like, do you want to do something more like this, or do you want more posting times, or like do you want analytics on what's working? Is that more interesting to you than having Blue Sky automation or Threads automation? You know, so there's a lot of different things that could be done. But you're right. Like, if you just open-ended ask, like, especially somebody who isn't using AI or doesn't think AI can write like them, like asking them what they want, they're going to give you like their coffee order or something, you know, like they don't know.
And it's also, isn't it? It's like to like you're romantic about this. Like I think this switches on your expertise in marketing, so it'd be good to get your thoughts on this. But like I find this really interesting. To you, you know it. Okay, whenever I looked at AI agency websites, if you Google it and you look at the top 10 website, it's all language that somebody that already knows how to build the stuff would use. It's like we'll build you a RAG system, we'll build you AI agents, something like that. Someone who understands what that paragraph, that very long paragraph, by the way, means, doesn't need to hire you to do it. And like, we're really romantic about it. We really love it. But the average Joe Schmo and Mrs. Higgins at 66 Diamond Avenue doesn't know and she doesn't care. And actually, it's just a very small part of her world. And you can have, weirdly, a product, a SaaS. I think that it's phenomenal. But if you can't explain it in simple English, to get someone's attention, I'm like, okay, I get it. Like, I don't know if you heard, but like, I met with somebody that was raising some money for their own AI startup, which was more on the kind of website building stuff, and really cool, talented, wonderful people who will be very successful one day. But what was striking to me is that it was like 5 minutes. I still didn't know what it did, and I'm like a very like enthusiastic listener in this environment, right? And I still didn't know what it did. And it's like, isn't it? Don't you think it's really funny that like it's like the most simple thing ever, but like it's almost it feels to me like the step that's missed the most.
Yeah. I feel like that's not just in SaaS, but I used to do one of the things I did when I had an agency was content marketing, and I was working with financial advisors, and financial advisors, and everybody does this, but also financial advisors try to one up each other with their arcane jargon knowledge. And I'm
Yes.
like, that other advisors aren't going to hire you. Like, you need to undo the jargon and talk about like, what are we talking about here? And it was like, should you retire in March or April? The answer will save you 6 figures. And like
Wow.
that's what we want. That's what people. That's what your potential customers care about. You really like March 31st to April 1st is $100,000 difference.
That's
Okay,
crazy.
tell me which one to do. Like because it's the end of the fiscal year or whatever. So like you have to assume that your audience is very smart but doesn't know anything about what you're doing. And honestly, if you've been using ChatGPT or Claude or Perplexity, not Perplexity, they don't have very good memory, but ChatGPT or Claude has a great memory. Ask it to tell you what your software does. Ask it for marketing language because often we're too close to it. So like, I'm sure the AI people were similar, but in the info product world, they want to tell you that they went to business school and they worked on this info product for 200 hours and it's got 50 modules and each one will take about an hour and a half, and it's like they think that's all like a selling point that makes people run the other direction. Like I don't want an MBA. I want the results that you learn from your MBA, and I want it in as little time as possible. And so like the very human inclination to make things more complicated is something that we need to stem because simple is what sells.
That's beautiful way of describing it. Did you? I think it was like the top. If you look at the top 10 biggest YouTube channels, for example, the average reading age language is like fifth grade or third grade. There is just some. I actually think it comes down to that book, right? You've moved like System One, System Two thinking. For those that may not have seen that book, it's the idea that like there's an amazing book I'd recommend, and I need to get some book recommendation in a minute as well. It's called How to Pitch Anything, and it's this beautiful book by this guy. I think his name is Aaron Kath. But basically, the premise of the book is this: you have hot cognition and cold cognition. Cold cognition is the analytical part of your brain. If I said liquid's $729 and it's over 2 months, you start engaging cold cognition. Hot cognition is this kind of like, yes, I get it. I don't need to think about it. And it's almost idea like the idea is that you should almost glide through a website. You should glide through the software. You just shouldn't have to think about it. It just kind of makes sense. And there must be something about when you talk I said talk instead of communicate. I changed that halfway through the sentence in my mind, ironically. But when you talk at a third grade reading level, like it asks less of the buyer, right, or like the reader. They can just kind of get it. And I think when you start asking people to break down and do work, they switch off and they leave. So there's something, we see it in video, and I really strongly believe it's also the case with software. But people are so in the weeds in the detail that they want to use this really complex language that makes them sound very intelligent, but it's just making people do work they don't need to do.
They actually say that that's good for learning too. So like if you wanted to learn about ancient Greece, go get a sixth grade book for it, because
Wow.
it's a great, because it's not condescending, right? But it's like when you want to learn about ancient Greece, you want to learn about like who the gods were, and this is a really bad example because I don't know anything about that, but like, but you want to learn just like the
Yeah.
over, like what was Mount Olympus, and like what were they like, how is it different than Roman, and you get that in like an 80-page sixth grade primer, and like we can learn a lot from how things are taught to kids, because kids don't feel condescended. Kids don't know. So they're learning as they go. And so I think that especially when we do something that was hard for us, we want people to know how hard it was. And we don't want to it's not a humble brag. It's not about ego. It's about like, this was hard and it's complicated and here's why. Instead of like, I got through this mess. It's the same sort of thing. Like, I don't want to go to med school. I just want to go to a doctor who can tell me in 40 minutes what I need to do. Like,
Yeah.
they are not going to tell me about the jargon that I can't comprehend. And I think that's what we need to really, really focus on, is like making a beautiful, simple solution for our people who are smart and have the problem that we can help them solve. But they don't care if you're using Vappy or any of the other, like, anything that you subscribe to. They like, my people will not care that I'm using Softer, for example. Like,
They don't know.
they just won't.
It's actually beautiful because it's interesting because people value the fact that it's taken you a long time. They just don't want to hear about it a lot. Like there was on YouTube, for example, someone said like, one of the cool things that you can say that will increase your watch time is say, look, I spent 100 hours reviewing all these videos, so you don't have to. Here's a TLDR. It's like you've taken investment to figure it out. So you could say, I've spent 5 years figuring out what the hell actually works on social media with these posts, and I built software that just does it. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Like, you've done all this investment. I don't even have to freaking bother. People don't care about the how, they care about the results. What do you think, like, marketing? I have to pick your brain on this. Like, marketing misconceptions. Are there any, like, cardinal marketing sins that people make that not that make your hair pull out, but that you think that are really important for people to get when they're like starting like a SaaS or any kind of business that you see a lot?
Counterintuitively, the biggest marketing sin is under marketing. Where
Okay.
you think you've heard it, you've said it so many times because you said it on a podcast and you said it on Twitter and you said it on Facebook and you said it on Instagram, and people should know it by now. They don't. We don't market enough, and we don't follow the pattern of rock stars.
Yes.
And by that I mean play your hits. If something goes viral, make more, like if it makes a big impact, make more content like that and replay it. It's your hit. Like the Rolling Stones don't play, they don't well, they don't play anymore anyway, but like they don't play new music. They don't have to. They've got the hits that people love. And I think when like, and this is where I like want to reach through the computer and strangle people, is like when they're like, I had a Black Friday offer, I have it all set up, but I just don't want to bother people. And I'm like, their wallets are open. You're not saving them any money. You're just preventing them from spending with you. And I like, I get so frustrated because people want it to still be 2000, where there's 7 websites, and it just simply by having a website and having a buy button, you'll make money. It's not 2000. It's 25 years past 2000. We have to make noise because there's so much noise that we have to do it too.
Even the screen is agreeing with you on that.
Even the screen is excited. Yeah.
You're right. Replay the classic hits because people don't remember as much as you think they do, right? That's the key thing. That's a really interesting thing. So, Kathleen, I have to ask a question. Like, book, is there any books, or is there a book for you that like was particularly influential, or like what if someone asked you for your number one recommendation? What would you recommend to them? What would be the one book takeaway from this?
I feel like I should have like a really good business book because that's what people do. But I read one about the let me find it. Hang on.
Go find it, yeah. And while Kathleen's just grabbing that, I think like the reason we want to talk about knowledge is because, if you think about someone's experience, right, and like, there's one book that's really changed the way they thought about something. Actually, getting that recommendation from somebody that's like an expert in an area, it can be really particularly profound, guys. So it's always worth asking the question. And I think she's got it here.
This one's great. I got it on audiobook and then I instantly bought it. But it's called
Wow.
Mind Magic, and it's the neuroscience of manifesting and how to use it to get what you want. It is so good because if you know anything about manifesting, it sounds a little too stupid, right? It's a little bit woo, or a lot woo. But this guy's a neuroscientist, and he is talking about how he's actually a neurosurgeon. But he's talking about how like we are actively manifesting our reality anyway. So
Wow.
what you are living now is something you have created. So why not adjust your thinking in order to adjust your reality? And it's at the end of it, it's got like a 6-week program that you're using meditation and mindfulness and to manifest your reality, and it's really, really good.
Wow. Okay, I will. I'm going to order that book tonight. That sounds flipping awesome. I've just heard all the best athletes manifest. Conor McGregor, when he was like, married to his like, he was with his partner. No Irish fight ever came. He said he saw himself at the highest level. So like, I've just seen it too many times in the real world to ignore this any longer. So this is like the perfect time and recommendation for me. So thank you for that.
Cool. Yeah, it's a good New Year's like blank slate. Like, what do I want to create in the rest of my life? It's really, really good.
I love that. Thank you for that. And Kathy, how can people get a hold of you? Can we check? We're going to put a link. Is Glow Social something that they can sign up to? Are they able to come and do that now? Like, how did I get in touch with you? What's the best way to make that happen?
Yeah. So if you're in the community, just DM me. I'm super open in there. But if you're not, head over to glowsocial.com, and that's where you can learn all about the software. There's
Incredible.
a connection meeting link on there, and we can chat.
That's freaking awesome. Any final words of wisdom for the people, like, because when Glow Social, when we see it on the NASDAQ, we'll look back on this and we'll say, oh my gosh, this was the podcast at the beginning of the journey. Any final thoughts you want to share with the world?
I listen to what your instincts are telling you to do. Don't be scared.
I like that. Trust your gut. I actually, funnily enough, bought a book called Trust Your Gut impulsively a week or so ago. So I'm going to way through that and let you know if there's anything cool or valuable. But like, I think that's a really good sentiment. Well, Kathleen, thank you. It's been a real pleasure. And I want to say thank you as well for being so awesome in the community. Like, Kathleen, you were such a breath of fresh air, your ideas, and you had so much value. So thank you. I really appreciate you being part of the community and like making all this magic happen. This has been a super sick conversation. I've really enjoyed it. It's good to like just opine on AI SaaS and like hear about your experience and what you're building, because it doesn't get enough of the conversation limelight, I think. So it's been really fun to kind of explore that, and I look forward to having you back when and hearing these updates on Glow Social and how you're crushing it. And I think it'll be really fun.
Awesome. Thanks, Jack. Thanks so much.
Awesome. All right, cool. Thanks, guys. We'll catch you on the next one.